An Israeli strike on a school inside a refugee camp in Gaza has reportedly killed 10 people. That attack coming days after the U.S. quietly ignored its own deadline for Israel to increase the tiny amount of humanitarian aid it allows into Gaza. Israel also this week intensifying attacks across its northern border, hitting Beirut again today in the 5th consecutive day of strikes. And despite this, sources telling CNN, quote, extensive discussions are happening between leaders there on a U.S. ceasefire proposal, with an answer from Hezbollah expected as soon as Monday. Joining us now is former Middle East State Department negotiator Aaron David Miller. Aaron, thanks so much for being here with us. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
I want to start first with this news about a potential ceasefire. What do you think? What do you think about this? Does it sound like both sides are ready to come to the table? And is timing here and kind of the political environment, how much is that playing a role as well?
Yeah, we've had this discussion in other matters, Jessica, over the last year. My view is that Arab-Israeli negotiations have two speeds, slow and slower. And while I think there's a reasonable chance that between now and the end of the year, you could actually get a diplomatic off-ramp between Israel and Hezbollah, I still think it's going to be a pretty heavy lift. The Iranians appear to have acquiesced and appear to be supportive. And the Israelis, I think that's the reason that I'm relatively optimistic. Netanyahu, I think, could actually do this deal. There are no hostages. There's no Palestinian Authority. There's no Palestinian state. It's really up to Hezbollah, I think, to make a decision whether or not they're prepared to accept the terms, which would have them push back beyond the Litani River, which is anywhere from 8 to 18 miles north of the Israeli border. And you're going to end up with a side letter between the U.S. and Israel, not a part of the agreement, that the Israelis would have the right to prevent or preempt if Hezbollah returns to the south.
Yeah. And I also, just kind of keeping that over here, of course, Hezbollah, a proxy of Iran, and there are reports out there from the New York Times and the Associated Press that Elon Musk met earlier this week with the Iranian ambassador to the United Nations. Iran's foreign ministry denying that happened. But seeing that Elon Musk has already injected himself into another major international conflict, he was on the phone with Zelensky and President-elect Trump. What do you make of this report that Iran is denying, but nonetheless, this report that meeting occurred?
I can only guess, but I'm guessing that, in fact, it did occur. And I'm sure that Elon Musk did so with the understanding of the authority of Donald Trump. We're only supposed to have one president at a time. Now we seem to have three. We have Joe Biden, who is the president. We have Donald Trump, the president-elect. And we have Elon Musk playing a role I cannot think in the 20 plus years I spent in government of another private citizen playing such an extraordinary role in diplomacy. And here's a guy who's under some federal regulatory scrutiny by the SEC, the FAA, the FCC, and the Justice Department. And he's got billions of dollars of government contracts, and he is now conflict of interest. I mean, it's unprecedented, and frankly, Donald Trump isn't even president yet. And I think we're crashing through another norm and guardrail. I don't think it's a good sign, frankly.
And just before I let you go, just a second thought on that. Just if you're Iran or another foreign nation, who are you talking to? Who are you trusting? Like, who do you think speaks for the United States?
Overlapping lines of authority is going to be a problem, but I think the Iranians are actually quite nervous about the reality that Donald Trump is going to probably, when it comes to Iran, make the major decisions. And I think it's caught them off balance, which is one of the reasons I think they haven't responded yet to the Israeli strikes of October 26. I think they're scared, frankly. Now, whether or not Donald Trump can take advantage of that in order to, open a negotiating track is unclear. I worry greatly that we may be in for an Israeli-Iranian escalation sometime early next year.
All right.